Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2. Let me introduce, sometimes Protoss, sometimes Zerg, but all times the fastest player in the world, the Italian Stallion. It's Reynor. Up against a bit of a new challenger, though he's been around for quite a while. Team Liquid's Protoss, it's MaNa. Now, a best of 3, Protoss versus Zerg. This was recommended as one of the most interesting Protoss versus Zerg, a matchup that has been very interesting lately. And also, both these players pretty on top of the YouTube game lately, especially MaNa, putting out a lot of great content. But I'd like to think that mine is still worth maybe a like and subscribe. Jimmy, put their channels in the description and then tell me how many. I don't want 1,245 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another series. And I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. I'm interested to see already a Void Ray. The little details really matter, as to the less discerning or detailed observer. Early game Protoss versus Zerg feels very samey, very standard. But it's not just the building of the Stargate, but it's what and why that is so much of the time important. And MaNa, starting out with the Void Ray, more expensive than the Oracle, but more reliable, early defense. Just seeing a Void Ray, well, one, means you're not going to see much else as Zerg. Well, Reynor's going to come in and continue to scout, so kind of invalidating some of the use of it. But the Void Ray makes you suspicious as Zerg in general, because what are you trying to hide? My slimy Protoss friend. Well, maybe not slimy, but at least deceptive. Unfortunately for MaNa, he did not spot that Overlord in time. Reynor snuck it in, and he saw the Twilight in the Forge, which, a small thing, but definitely a win for Reynor, because the Void Ray's main purpose is denying that scouting. The secondary one is some additional early defense, or something to harass creep tumors and poke at the edges, but definitely not as good at that as just having mortals. So, Reynor with 54 drones and counting. MaNa did get a very quick third and already has 53 probes. So neither player with any sort of real early aggression besides the mind games and the Battle of the Production tab. 6 more gates in charge on the way, as well as +1 attack. So this means, oh, it's just straight up charge lots. With no Void Ray, or not no Void Ray, but no Warp Prism. He's just going to warp in charge lots and send them across. Get, sir, please, ma'am, whatever you are, Disco Ball. Unfortunately for MaNa, or for Reynor rather, the Oracles are on the other side. And the Queens and the Lings are caught between a rock and a hard place. The gold base attempted, but shut down. Just a straight-up charge lot timing here from MaNa. He's going to have 8 gates finishing momentarily. The Void Ray has denied scouting. And while Zerglings with +1 are helpful, this is about as committed as you can get while still going for 4 bases. Oh, he's going to take down the rocks and try to sneak by that direction. So far, Reynor still hasn't found anything. Seeing this base might actually hurt Reynor in the short term here, because he's going to be committed to taking it out. Whereas MaNa is already sending zealots out down the south side. And I want to point out he built 2 robos behind, so he's really trying to push Reynor into either a Roach or a Roach Hydra sort of unit composition. And Reynor's going to oblige. So this base will be canceled. The Zerglings caught behind the Queens. The Oracle's looking for an opportunity to get involved. 4 more charge lots actually slipping into the natural where there's no real defenses. A single Queen. The Oracles with a stasis attempt. I see what you're trying to do. It doesn't work out this time. But more damage will be done. And the Zealots already have +1. They're slicing up the Queens. No transfuses. Brenda, where are you? I don't... And Reynor caught off guard. The fact that he scouted the Forge actually added a lot of strength to this push, because Reynor, even some of the Roaches getting caught. Reynor going with, he was setting up to both get a better economy and potentially pressure the third, but then MaNa just kind of sucker punched him with the Zealots. And honestly, that's kind of what it was. relying entirely on the element of surprise, but that is one of the strongest and most reactive elements, as we've seen here. The Zealot's still slicing through, and behind this, Mana is building Mass Immortal. He's got 2 Immortals in production simultaneously, already finished off 2. He's gonna cancel the base yet again. He's keeping Reynor back on his side of the map, just almost tower defense level waves of charge lots being sent in. The Oracle's adding extra as well, and Reynor has been building up the drone count. He's still at 80 throughout all this, though Mana doing his best to keep it under control. There's a hive on the way, so while this is real damage, oh my god. You shall not! Oh no, what are those? The Zealots and the Queens battling over the mineral wall, but another round of Zealots, and another one! Just keep sending them! And it's working out, as Mana maintains a similar supply here. He's very much encouraged Reynor to go straight into roaches. And there is almost no harder counter to roaches than Immortals. While there will be plenty of Zerglings, the Templar Archives is on the way. So mix in a few Immortals, have all these mix in a few Archons and have all these Immortals in the back line. You can clean up the Zerglings, you'll just pound your way through. And Immortals are much more reliable, if less potential than Disruptors, which could obliterate dozens of roaches in a hit, but also very much could not, especially against someone like Reynor. Observer just casually whips out the corrosive bile on the way by, takes out the obs. So pretty solid move there. A Spire is on the way behind this, maybe thinking about Brood Lords. Is Reynor but Mana? A double Archon behind it. Gonna use the Warp Prism. Charge Lot's heading, he just right-clicked on the hatchery. Oracle's still in the center of the map. A bit of an awkward spot there. Some Queens helping out. Adrenal Glands is on the way, but Mana maintaining this aggressive style. Unfortunately, some of the charge lot's gonna get shaved up before the battle begins. A force field sent out for in solidarity. Archon's trying to hold, juggling back the Immortals. And Reynor's army is not, well, with the Banelings, it's going to help out a lot. But the Immortals trying to live up to their name. So far, the Banelings are absorbing a lot of the hits. And that Warp Prism can't hold everyone. A fancy micro composition gets overrun by the sheer amount of Zerg here. And now Mana's in a bit of trouble as the Banelings are rolling into the mineral line. He left a gap, just barely. No, not the probe. The probe's a move back in. I don't know about that one. But still, a lot of damage being dealt. What an action-packed game. Only 10 minutes in. The Void Ray comes back. Remember me? I don't actually know where the Void Ray was this entire time. Patrol it over on the other side. The income swings back into favor for Reynor, who's now getting a greater Spire. Looking to essentially checkmate the ground army with enough Brood Lords. But Mana, well, Mana does not have any defensive upgrades. Just +3 attack on the way. Still has that Prism. A group of Banelings very luckily going to be scouted before it comes in here. It needs to react to that yesterday. Hello? Hello? Mana, look at the other way. Oh, no. Thankfully, those aren't +2 or +3 Banelings. It's +2 Banelings. No longer one-shot the probes. That means some will survive. A painful exchange, though. Warp Prism flies by some Overlords, so should have plenty of units to respond. Reynor does. The Greater Spire will be spotted. That's incredibly important here. Storm is on the way. Mana knows he needs to put himself out there, as there is no real counter to the Brood Lords, just marginal ones in the form of Archons. Uh-oh. Get over here! And a Parasitic Bomb for good measure. One Zealot survives. But without the Prism, Mana's idea is good, but unfortunately, Reynor has been able to pull it together, and the Brood Lords are an existential threat. Just 2 of them is not going to be a deadly composition, especially with that many Archons, which can certainly tank the damage. Storm is on the way. Reynor does run the risk of overextending. He doesn't have a bunch of money in the bank. He is maxed out, though. Banelings heading down. Where are those broods? Still building up back at home. Another base. The Nexus has been taken, but Mana moving to defend. He's going to have units in place to deal with it. A Void Ray in the center of the map will spot the army moving in, threatening the third. But Mana still has the economy to potentially match. He hasn't opted for a fleet beacon. It looks like he didn't quite get it, but the queens are here. Not gonna waste a parasitic bomb. He's just gonna bring it back. The abduct is cheaper. The storm, though, softens up a lot of the Zerglings and melts some of them. Mana still matching. The queen's out in front. A bold move. A defensive setup. Campaign-esque. Stasis, Archons, shield batteries. The Zealots, though, getting overrun. How many broods? Just 3. Mana very optimistic about this Nexus. Doesn't actually get a cancel. Still, though, building up that late-game Protoss ground army. I'd say it has a better chance of dealing with Broodlords than it would a mass lurker sort of composition. Though it really depends on the numbers and the positioning. Once the Broodlord count gets well into the double digits, that's when it essentially becomes impossible to fight on the ground. Right now, Reynor, he's at 3, building 3 more. Mana just kind of waiting for the hammer to drop, it feels like. Waiting for Reynor to make a mistake and then ideally capitalizing on it. Another forge is on the way. But so far, no fleet beacon. No sign of that late game sky toss. The Broodlord's moving in. Actually kind of exposed here to start. He blinks in. There's not that many Stalkers. Picks off one. Blinding Cloud Storm. Both sides showing what they got right now. Stalkers will blink in. Take out another Brood. Another Storm. There's one Viper with energy. Losing Broods left, right, and center. And meanwhile, Mana has actually moved past the center line. This army, very fierce, but really needs all the spell casting, and there's no more storms. The Archons will have to be juggled back, trying to minimize the damage. It will be overrun. But Mana actually wins the fight on the left flank, and he's expanding underneath it. The Broodlords are unprotected, will be taken out with relative ease. So Mana wins on the left side, at least for now. The Storms drive away the Zerglings. He actually kills his own Observer. He's got another one there. Will very likely kill the base. Corrosive Bile dealt with it. Templar leading the charge. He gets a Storm on the center mass. The Stasis actually goes off and helps block in. Immortal's helping out. Stasis mid-fight. And Mana, meanwhile, attacking to the right. The Archons in charge. Lots will take out the base, and Reynor starting to scramble here. Mana has to be careful not to lose too many units to the units coming out of stasis here. And another one. Stop right there. Meanwhile, the charge slots are still going forward. A recall mid-stasis. A bit of a mediocre one. But the army's still going to work. And another hatchery will likely be taken down. There is no recall. The Archons are jammed into a corner. 30 kills. 34. 36. Almost too angry to die. But 7 Ultralisks are on the way now. Ultralisk against Immortal Archon. Reynor only has 54 drones. He actually needs to get some damage done. The Broodlords feels like he didn't really commit to them. So Mana ripped them away, as he clearly didn't want them. The upgrades +3, +1 on both sides, except +1 shields. Oh, Corruptors? He's patting the Nexus on the back with the battery overcharge there, but eventually the Corruptors will melt through it. This is incredibly awkward. Does he not have a warp in? I think he's going to get the Nexus with those charged up Corruptors. And now the shield battery is being exhausted. It's going to be very close. This is very weird. Nice to see this. He's out of energy and he gets the Nexus. The Ultras. Not the ideal counter by any means here. Does he have Ultra Speed? He doesn't. He doesn't even have Chitinous Plating yet. Ultra Speed is kind of important off a creep. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to hold him down. Infestors and Neural Parasite in production. Meanwhile, the Zealots warped in, but the Archon gets surrounded. Another Archon going to be taken out by Zerglings, of all things. But the Oracle helping out as well. And this will be cleaned up in Mana. Relentlessly retaking the base on the left side. But the Ultras, he yanks out one Immortal. There's one more Viper. Feedback before it can get more. Another Storm to soften things up. There's 3 Immortals on the back line. Storms across the board. But Reynor is weathering it. He needs those Immortals. He juggles a couple back. And they've only got good time. Well, a couple Zerglings in the mix there. Continues to juggle back. And another Immortal pops out. The Ultralisk count has been thinned out, but quantity is a quality all its own. Another great feedback. I don't even know where that Templar came from. Juggling the Immortals, more Storms. Cutting right through the armor with the Storms. Emerges an Archon, and he's holding the line. The Immortals on the high ground, barely blasting their way through, but indeed doing so. The Ultras are taken down, and the supplies are evened up. But Fungal, oh no! Loses more Stalkers, but Mana has the economy, whereas Reynor is struggling to get the drone count up. The worker, well, he has a 16 worker and a significant income advantage. I think Mana has evened the odds here. Reynor is relying on Ultralisks, an inherently unreliable unit in the late game. Well, 8 probes down and a bunch of zealots ripped to shreds by the fully upgraded, at least full attack upgrade Zerglings. The Zerglings should be able to take out the Nexus. It's not over yet as Reynor has rebuilt that supply. There is Neural Parasite. Immortal's a pretty great counter to Immortals, but does he have enough to back it up? The War Prism juggling back. And actually, it looks like Reynor, with the help of MaNa's units, will be able to take out the rest of MaNa's units. Those Immortals need to be, well, missed the pickup on one of them. And Reynor battling back. And suddenly, wow, what a hectic game. MaNa's still mining from that northern base, but Reynor has expanded to the bottom right corner. Another Archon lost to Zerglings. 23 Archons and 16 Immortals in one of the most brutal Protoss versus Zergs. Both sides nowhere near maxed out at 20 minutes in. Not a single fleet beacon in sight. Reynor has only reluctantly built a handful of spellcasters, but Mana is back on the ropes. He went a little too far and the Infestors turned it around. His army, 2 Archons, 4 Immortals. Both those Archons in this prism. You cannot Neural Parasite a prism with units inside. But as soon as they hit the ground, they are potentially vulnerable. The Archon drop coming in. The drone's already running. Wasn't sure what was in it, but knew it probably wouldn't be good for him. The Archon's going to work on the hatch. Wow, the Reynor Zerglings. And the Ultralisk chewing through those Archons. +1 shields is no match. Mana agrees. He gets +2. I'm still not sure. Like, there's enough energy for a Contaminate to potentially slow down the upgrades. This is a very dangerous army. Stasis Ward. The Ultras are just too large for it. They won't get caught, but the Zerglings very much could be. That Observer existing is a huge deal here. Oh yeah, that Observer may be the difference maker. If he can deal with the Infestors. Oh, but well, this is no one can really hit each other. Yeah, come at me, bro. But the Immortals are blasting through. The Immortals of Reynor, he yanks them over the top, but the stasis on the Zerglings is massive. What a clusterfuck this fight is. Oh my god. Well, the Ultras are struggling because of the force-fielded Zerglings. The Storm comes through, and at the end of the day, the Ultras just can't close the distance. Reynor went far too deep, and Mana took advantage of it. Oh, Reynor. He really wanted to end it there. He just he tried to fight through the stasis Zerglings. But the Oracle comes through at the end of the day. Didn't get that many kills so far this game. But the stasis certainly made the difference in that fight. The Zerglings coming in. The counterattack always dangerous. But this army has game-winning potential. There are 3 more Infestors on the way. The Oracle existing means he has detection. The Ultras are trying to outrun, but the Immortals are blasting him to bits. Somehow there are Zerglings in 2 or 3 bases here. And they're actually overrunning the mineral lines. Mana might not have a home to go back to. But Reynor has almost no economy either. The Zerglings overrunning. Recalls back to save the Nexus. 22 workers dead on either side. 39 to 35 left. Barely in favor of mana, but it really comes down to where you can mine from. Be careful. The Oracle almost dying. Great storms. And Reynor scrambling. He chose to play that fast and loose late game with the Infestors and the Ultralists. And now, MaNa was able to hold it down with a decisive fight, and it's his game to lose. But not again. How many times? 25 Archons dead. Oh, the Templar. He gets them before they can merge. Mistakes like this are things that MaNa cannot afford. MaNa is probably overestimating Reynor's position a bit right now. As it's very hard to judge how much damage you got done while you're also doing damage control at home. The fact that Reynor is constantly poking and prodding with these Zerglings, MaNa knows his probe count is low, and he knows he did a lot of damage, but he can't be exactly sure how much. So he's giving Reynor the benefit of the doubt, which might end up costing him, as he's losing more and more probes. He's giving Reynor time to rebuild. He's giving Infestors an opportunity to regenerate that energy. Reynor just goes for the pylon. MaNa's just kind of giving up this base. He's at the finish line, at the goal line. He's just got to bring it home. And it's looking dicier and dicier, but he still has the army to beat. 3, 2, 1 upgrades here. All he needs to do is deal with those Infestors. That is everything right now. Gets the feedbacks, but the Neural Parasite is already there. Blunk's on top. That should be enough. The Archons melting through. The Immortals blasting apart the Ultras. And GG! MaNa takes a hard-fought game 1. 28 Archons, 620 Zerglings, 140 Zealots, 19 Immortals, and 21 Ultras died in the production. Very many units were harmed in the production of this game. But at the end of the day, MaNa powers through. Wow. Well, that was certainly Reynor's just relentless brand of Zerg up against MaNa. Honestly, MaNa just met him with aggression across the board. It cost him. It almost cost him the game a couple times. But Reynor threw it right back at him. One of those that both players making what could arguably be called mistakes, but those mistakes are born out of a feeling like your opponent actually has an advantage and you need to get damage done now. So, what a great game. One of the most... Protoss versus Zerg is a little bit less of a constant battle for control, in more kind of shifting unit compositions and position, but they just went at it. Oh my god. Now, that's not necessarily... I've never seen so many Archons die to the unit they're supposed to hard counter. But then again, Reynor Zerglings are just built different. And more often. So, that quantity is a quality all its own. Oh my. Wow. Grab your emotional support, Zergling. Make sure they don't watch when Reynor's playing. It's not healthy. We'll see what MaNa can cook up in game 2. Reynor showing his usual extreme dislike for the turtly late game. There's a reason when he plays Protoss against Zerg, he plays this active style. I think MaNa may be taking some notes from that as well. MaNa's always been a top-tier Protoss, but it's incredibly difficult, especially for Protoss, to maintain a consistent level. So while he might be in the top 25, maybe 30 players in the world, the difference between the top 10 and everyone else, or even the top 5 and everyone else, is sometimes night and day. But clearly, MaNa has a grasp on that style. The detail's a bit rough, but I've never quite seen it. That's a very simple style. The Void Ray into charge lot. it's almost so obvious it becomes unexpected again, because that was the go-to style, especially for, like, ladder gamers. It may still be the go-to style for ladder gamers who want to get one nice and quick and dirty win. Of course, Mana followed it up with the double Robo Immortal, which carried him through up to and against the Ultras. But definitely something different. What we usually see nowadays, if it's not Blink, it's Charge and Archons. Just skipping the Archons is a bit risky, but you can hit a lot harder and a lot quicker with just Charge lots early. The only risk is them having those roaches, but Mana prepared. So we got a Void Ray again. The Overlord managed to evade it for now. As last game, Reynor got in with the Ovi, and that was actually... I think Mana used that against him, is what happened. Like, Reynor got in, and he saw the makings of a standard, like, 3-base tech build. And Mana took a 4th Nexus, and it was scouting. So Reynor's like, alright, I know what I'm dealing with. And then the charge lots come in out of nowhere. Because you just don't see that. Just the straight-up charge lots. Well, in this case, Reynor certainly didn't. So, well played. But can lightning strike? Well, not really lightning. More like a tornado rampaging through his base, but... Can it strike again? He's got the Twilight, he's got the Forge. He hasn't taken any gases at the Natural. He may very well head down the same path. Usually you would take... maybe he wants to get a quick scout off here. Usually you would be taking the gas at the Natural by 4 minutes, 4:30 at the latest if you're doing a more tech-oriented build. But no! Charge on the agenda yet again. And way more gates. So this is the real struggle with Protoss in general. Is making, like, you might be able to win one game, but can you make it work again? That has always been the best Protoss. Get off my creep! You don't want to lose those oracles, but the best Protoss players have had essentially a deck of builds, and they pull out the right one at the right time to take the win. It's been very hard for Protoss, just because of the nature of their units. It's so expensive to build tech, and a lot of their units have relatively simple counters that can be built in time if they get scouted. So, doing the same build multiple times usually ends up with the Zerg adapting very lore accurately and eventually overrunning. So we'll see if Reynor gets caught off guard by the charge launch yet again. Has he seen the gases at the Natural? There's the double Robo already behind. Well, now he's seen the Zealots, so that's certainly a giveaway. Double Robo. Yeah, he wants Reynor to build roaches. But will Reynor add a twist on it? The charge lots spot the roach count being far too high to deal with right now. While they're pretty dangerous if they can close the distance, there's just a critical mass of roaches that will whittle them down. Clearing up the creep with the Oracle. Continuing around. Just try it. He canceled the 4th base and sees there isn't even another attempt at it. Whereas Reynor's just building roaches. He's got 66 drones. Perfect 3-base saturation. Void Ray! Queens! We've had enough! Oh no! Oh yeah. I blacked out for a second there. Void Ray gets taken down. Oracle recalled. An interesting choice. So Immortals are in production, but it looks like Reynor has fully invested in essentially a 3-base all-in. He's taken a 4th hatch, but he's putting everything into this timing. He's probably going to bring the Queens with it. They're already most of the way there. MaNa's expanded directly down the center, which is better as a staging area for pushes, but also, of course, makes them more vulnerable to the direct attack. But the stasis? Now, that one's a bit awkward. The charge lots are going to have a tougher time getting around it. The Immortals, though, very helpful. He's only got 2. Really would want 3 or 4 to deal with this, but the Shield Battery Overcharge help you out a lot. Corrosive Bile actually gonna land here. He re-shields one of the Immortals. The Roaches are about to come out of stasis. But honestly, Mana seems like he does have the brute force here required to deal with this sort of attack. And meanwhile, the charge locks inside the third base, killing 8-10 drones so far. The Immortals holding the line. Roaches still across the map. And, well, loses one. Reynor took a lot of damage back at home. 11 drones down. Forced to rebuild some of them. But Mana can't quite seem to push him out of his base. +2 attack will finish in about 10 seconds. That's the best opportunity he has in the near future to deal with this. Ideally, Shield Battery Overcharge up in a couple seconds. +2 done right now. Warp Prism about to complete. This is it. This is the time. He goes. Shield Battery Overcharge going to help out those Zealots. The Warp Prism going to help out the Immortals. Juggles back. Re-shields. Queen getting caught off guard. Meanwhile, the Observer spots all of this reinforcing. Dodges out of the Corrosive Biles. The battle will continue. Mana managed to slip a few Zealots by, which is a huge deal. And now, he should be able to clean up some of the creep. These Overlords actually dropping creep on top of everything. Oh, no, the Immortals! Oh! Actually uses a barrier. Ends up using a barrier. It isn't triggerable, unfortunately. But Mana holds for now. Reynor is kind of... he's stuck. He doesn't really have any other options. He might have a 4th, but he had to rebuild drones. Mana, oh, gotta be so careful. Saves an Immortal. Beautiful micro so far, but the Roaches coming in towards the 3rd. Jukes back. Still, those Immortals living up to their names. Loses another pylon. How long on Shield Battery Overcharge? About to complete. These Roaches are cleaned up. Mana's holding. He's still got 60 probes, but Reynor has snuck out a few more drones. The Ravagers spray and pray. Mana's only on 2 gas geysers here. Gonna try to juggle the Immortals forward. Reynor's still near maxed out, but it is Roach Ravager, so. The Immortal count, 8 of them, going on 10. Gonna try to just punch his way through. The brute force. You gotta be careful. Oh no, the Corrosive Biles land. Those ones did real damage. The Charge Lots needs a couple Immortals to help deal with this. Reynor just trying to split his attention here, succeeding so far. The Corrosive Bile starting to melt through the Immortals. Just firing him off, seeing what he can hit, and so far finding remarkable success. Another Immortal. He juggles it back, that Prism. Double duty here. It has to be on both sides. Reynor just a little bit too quick. He's going straight for the base. And he's going to take it out, I think. And there we are. The Immortals are not enough. The Corrosive Biles and the Zerglings trickling in are preventing the damage. The micro is good, but the macro is slipping here for Mana. He's got plenty of money in the bank. He needs to replace those Nexi. He's got 8 gates, building 1 Immortal. And Reynor, well, he finished +2 ranged attack, and now he's forced back by the sheer weight of these Immortals. He's got 10 of them. But the Zerglings, they make it so much harder for the Immortals to get valuable damage done. The barriers are triggered by Corrosive Bile. The Roaches and Ravagers are closing in. You can only juggle so fast. The Immortals are crumbling, and Reynor just has too much, and with the Prism going down, I think the 5 or 6 minutes this attack has continued are finally going to conclude as Reynor is able to overpower Mana. Wow. Exhausting games. All tied up. 2 games back-to-back, just straight-up action-packed brawling. Neither player willing to back down and just sit back. Reynor makes it work. I think there were some moments, man, I might have been able to turn it around, but the Corrosive Bile's getting real value over time there. Very hard to do anything else and dodge Corrosive Biles. So that means we're all tied up. Going into Game 3 on Oceanborn, the decider match. Mana versus Reynor. Honestly, I would have said Mana will probably come up with some creative build, and then Reynor will backhand him for it. No. Reynor is bloodied here in this match. It very well could have been a 2-0 for Mana so far, or very well could have been a 2-0 for Reynor. It really, the devil in the details so far. Exhausting. With the probe here to flirt with the minerals and try to convince them that the drones don't want to mine. Minerals have a mind of their own. A mind. Nope. Huh? Oh my god, I'm surprised Reynor didn't pull more. Probe almost got trapped there on the smallest of pebbles, stubbing its non-existent toe. I love the mess. Immortals are one of my favorite units in the game. They're just so cool. I wish they didn't suck so much at killing things like Zerglings, but... and that's their main weakness, is how easily they get distracted. And, you know, not shooting up. They are essentially Dragoons with just a big turret slapped on top. You should be able to unscrew the turret and get a Dragoon. Just put the turret on top of a cannon or something. Alright, getting a little complicated. Sounds like a Terran unit. Adept? Look at a scout. I'm taking a lot of damage. Threatening back. Oracle on the way. No Void Ray first this time. Did this probe mean to be out here? Well, it's heading back towards the third now, so... Adepts pick off the creep tumor. Always annoying. A few slow langs will get out beforehand. Adept. Literally backed into a corner. But the Zerglings are headed across. Now building a Void Ray is Mana. Makes it for early defense. There's nothing but the Adept in the Oracle here. Will he light up the Oracle? He's threatening it. Reynor trying to bait it out. Knows he's not going to kill the Nexus. I can't tell if... well, Mana being surprisingly patient with the Oracle. I think Reynor's just going to stick around till he lights it up. So this wall off is, not so much, I guess is the way to put it. I don't know if that's intentional, but it certainly feels like a liability at the moment. Zerglings poking in again, gonna try to pick off a probe or two, probably. Got some minor problems here. The Adept, like this wall off just may be a continued liability. As the Zerglings can get a lot of surface area. Mana. How dare you! The transfuse to save the Obi. Void Ray tried for it, not finding it. It's going to be... so Mana sticking to his guns. Well, his blades, in this case, that he studied. With great interest. Again, 3 games in a row with the charge not build. No, though clearly it isn't an all-in, but so much like the Blink Stalkers are a way of controlling the map in the early mid-game. So are the charge lots. So charge lots usually thought of as a bit of a higher risk, as they don't have 1, built-in anti-air, and 2, can easily get countered by roaches or even mass Zergling, in a way that Blink Stalkers usually don't. Oh my god. Again. God, that is so annoying. Another drone. Okay. this one will make it. The Queens were waiting, but I think he could have gotten it if he really was focused. Here come the Zealots, looking to get across the map. I'm pretty sure, well, Reynor has enough Zerglings to deal with it as it shows up. Charge is about to complete, but +1 is far from done. This is the problem. Reynor's ready. Reynor, like, MaNa's done the same thing 3 games in a row. And each game, Reynor's response has been stronger. The Zerg have adapted. Reynor cut some drones in order to get Lingbane, and he will just straight up kill the first Zealots. I guess it is some economic damage in the sense that Reynor had to cut drones in order to build Zerglings, but now, does MaNa have... He has 7 gates. Building a cannon, optimistically. +1 melee is about to complete with +1 attack. Zealots 2-shot Zerglings. Only 2 slaps, as opposed to 3 before +1 attack. It's a huge upgrade against those Zerglings specifically. I believe it still works even if they have the Carapace, but oh no, MaNa. 5 probes to start. Warps in to block. A brave probe helping to block in more, but loses 8 probes overall. It feels like so far this has gotten away from him a little bit. Gets a Templar Archives, already getting additional gas. So, MaNa looks like he wants Storm as soon as possible. He does have that double robo, but there's not been a single roach on the field. MaNa's adapting to that. At the same time, though, there's a Hydralisk Den completed for Reynor. So clearly intent on a bit of a different unit composition. Will we just see Archons, or does he opt for the Storm outright? Zealot's warped in, decides to cancel it. Archon, back at home. Zealot's warp, well, dropped out. We'll see the Hydra Den. Target's down a drone. Archon's back there. 4th base, adding more gas and a Robo Bay. So maybe Colossi as well. Just multiple flavors of splash damage to make the ideal composition. Alright, the Zealot's chasing. That's a lot of army supply out of MaNa here. Even with the Banelings, if the Zealots are well spread. Oh, that was a good hit. The Hydra's doing a lot of damage. Another round of Zealots is coming in, but so are the Banes, which don't have speed. Which I think is a bit of a mistake here. But, yeah, Reynor starts Baneling speed as soon as possible. But MaNa unable to close the distance. This Oracle... The Hydras are closing in. MaNa down 50 supply, 60 supply. Infestation, but on the way to Colossi. Archon. Well, get some of the Banelings. This is a bare bones army. It's going to be very difficult to defend. He needs those Colossi yesterday. +2 melee about to complete. Most of the Hydraling on the north side here. The War Prism wandering forward. He wants to save the Immortal, but the Prism itself is in danger. The army actually chasing down the Hydras, leading him away, buying time to get Colossi. The Chargeplot's leading Reynor on a chase here. Loses 12, 15, 17 probes. The Chargeplot's distracted most of the army, and he may very well come back. There's the Colossi. Well, I think with them on the high ground, he might be able to hold. But at what cost? Losing the probes and the Nexus. Quite devastating. Coming in from both sides. He needs the merge now. He needs the merge. He gets it just in time. Juggling the Colossi back. The Prism itself vulnerable. And the Archons come out just in time. And turn it around. The army supply almost even here. The +2 Colossi and Archons. Reynor again biting off a little more than he can chew. And is forced to let it go for now. MaNa not giving it up. Some credit just for holding on here. Keeping it together. Because Reynor has a tendency to just get so aggressive. There is a much larger than 0 chance he'll commit too much. And you might be able to turn it around from there. It's not great. The saving grace here is that the Hive is not done. He's about to have it completed. If there was a hive done with lurkers, with range, or vipers right now, game over, man. But because Mana can get his 4th base back up, he's going to get extended thermal lance. There's 4 vipers on the way. He has the tools to bring himself back into this. But it's a long road. A treacherous path. Four Vipers, Colossi, standing tall. There is a danger for Reynor. He has 92 drones. There's a danger his army is so small he can't actually fight Mana. That danger is a long way off. Mana, it's going to take a couple more minutes before he even gets close to maxing out, as he just doesn't have the economy. Reynor, 2,100 more income. 5 lurkers. They will have range. Adrenal glands on the way. Extended thermal lance is done. Mana's building what he can. Can get some Templar if he finds out, or he... Ideally, you spot the Vipers before they're pulling your Colossi into the lurkers in order to get acupuncture treatments. I think the Zealot spotted the lurkers. Another observer is on the way. I think we'll see Immortals indeed if he knows for sure it's lurkers. The Vipers. Oh, there they are. Warps in 4 Templar. Mana, like I said, he has the right army, but Reynor's playing it very careful this time around. He's not trying to go back and forth. He knows he has the advantage. Why offer a target? Well, at least a Kmart. The lurkers will burrow. Mana able to zone him out, but... Oh, no. Get over here. Oh, but he saves it with the prism. But now the prism is a liability. But the shield battery... This is a weird... This is a crazy exchange. He abducts the Colossus, which gets saved by the prism, which gets parasitic bombed. But the parasitic bomb is invalidated by the shield batteries. So Mana holds his composition together with duct tape and some dental floss, which is weird for a Protoss to have because they don't have teeth. Archons yanked in, almost killed the Vipers out of spite. Archon's well known as the angriest Protoss unit. Observers not quite in position. Zealots are able to slip by. Mana really putting together an attack here. And Reynor, that army supply. Oh, he's gonna try to fight. The Archons will split. Where's a Blinding Cloud? Where's something? Whoa, 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 the lurkers are dead. They're all dead. The Vipers, they have nothing to do. More charm slots are coming in. Mana's turning it around. There's a Hydras and Lings in production, but that's not the army you need. The Vipers are not regaining energy. Mana's War of the Worlds Death Ball here is looking incredible. Mana turns the supply gap around, and now it's Reynor who's down. He's got to be careful not to overstay his welcome. Gets yanked into the Hydras. That is the only thing that can... He force fields the ramp. He managed to make some more lurkers on the high ground here. Mana smells blood in the water. And this entire place is water. But he's going to kill. He should be able to finish off these lurkers. Mana's actually bleeding out a lot of units here. I'm a little concerned about Reynor. He doesn't have that much left. And Hydras and Zerglings are just not going to be it. Mana, with the Hydras looking the other way, he needs to juggle those Colossi. He does. The Prisms have been the MVP of this series. He's going to go for the Prism. He gets it, but at what cost? Mana takes it with a 2-1 victory. Mana over Reynor, who just clearly, well, he says Protoss is strong against Zerg in the late game. And it appears he's quite determined to prove it, but not to take away from Mana doing everything right. He did, well, he played like a top-tier ladder Protoss, which he is. He did the same strategy 3 times in a row, but he had a follow-up. He had the ability to adapt and make the difference, and he put himself in a position to achieve victory. And actually, I didn't believe, but he managed to do it. Killing all those lurkers at once. What a turnaround. Make sure to check out MaNa's YouTube and Reynor as well. Jimmy, I'm sure will totally remember it in the description, right? Mm-hmm. Either way. Thank you for watching. I hope I made your day a little bit better. If you got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome. Check out Patreon. But I hear liking and subscribing still free for now. And also checking out the second channel for Stormgate and Zero Space and just streams and other gameplay. If you have more of the day to waste, well, it'd be awesome to subscribe. But otherwise, oh yeah, recommended autoplay. Very helpful. I'll see you next time. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.